Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Bhaja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Haribo, 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 Jai Gaura Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahanta Paribhaja Kacharya Ashto Tarashata Shishimad Abhayachara Naravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahanta Paribhaja Kacharya Ashto Tarashata Shishimad Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vindiki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivashari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopakapina Shamakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Gangamai Ki Jamunamai Ki Tulsi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samavita Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Jugadam Harinam Sankirtan Ki Vihat Vidanga Ki Dai Gaur Premanandi. All glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to the assembled devotees, all glory to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Shri Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. It's a pleasure to be able to address the devotees in New York, servants of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, who are very special deities because Srila Prabhupada established those deities in the mood of the prominent mood of Mayapur established by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which is Mahaprabhu Radha Krishna. You see that all the deities in the temples established by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they have Mahaprabhu alone and Radha and Krishna, meaning that Mahaprabhu Nahi Anya Radha Krishna, that there's no difference between Radha Krishna and Mahaprabhu. So that's one of the few temples in the West that we have that configuration of deities. So it's very special. And of course, Prabhupada then establishing the preaching mood, he began to put Radha Krishna and on separate altar Gaur-Nitai for the preaching. Anyway, that's a different subject matter, quite different from today. But that is in the line of understanding the mood or the revelation of Mahaprabhu to Ramananda Roy. So today we'll be speaking on Bhagavad-gītā, one of the later texts in Bhagavad-gītā, because the subject matter today is how to transcend, how to transform the nature of envy, and how to understand. First, we have to understand what envy is. So we'll read this verse, which I thought was very appropriate for that, and then we will discuss. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na chakshushu shave vakvachyam na chamam yogyasuyate. So the translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Purport. People who have not undergone the austerities of the religious process, who have never attempted devotional service in Krishna consciousness, who have not tended a pure devotee, and especially those who are conscious of Krishna only as a historical personality, or who are envious of the greatness of Krishna, should not be told this most confidential part of knowledge. It is, however, sometimes found that even demoniac persons who are envious of Krishna, worshiping Krishna in a different way, taking to the profession of explaining Bhagavad Gita in a different way. The screen changed here for a minute. In a different way to make business. But anyone who desires actually to understand Krishna must avoid the commentaries, such commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is not understandable to those who are sensuous. Even if one is not sensuous, but is strictly following the disciplines enjoined in the Vedic literature, if he is not a devotee, he also cannot understand Krishna. Even if one poses himself as a devotee of Krishna, but is not engaged in Krishna conscious activities, he also cannot understand Krishna. There are many persons who envy Krishna, but he has explained in Bhagavad Gita that he is the supreme and that nothing is above him or equal to him. There are many persons who are envious of Krishna. Such persons should not be told of Bhagavad Gita, for they cannot understand. There is no possibility of faithless persons understanding Bhagavad Gita and Krishna. Without understanding Krishna from the authority of a pure devotee, one should not try to comment upon Bhagavad Gita. Om Jnanatimirandasya Garanjana Sharakaya Chakshurum Militam Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakata Mahyam Darati Shvaparantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastyata Deshitari Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So I will again repeat the verse. This confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. Of course, this verse is the verse that follows the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadhamam parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapadbhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. One should surrender to Krishna, giving up all dharmas, or in other words, giving up all dharmas sometimes is misunderstood as meaning we give up all these different things, but it's not that we give them up in the sense of kula dharma, our responsibilities to family, are different, so many different responsibilities, but we transform them into service for Krishna. Of course, if one is a sannyasi or Babaji, then one should give them up. But still, there's still a dharma. There's sannyas dharma, and there's also Babaji dharma. You have to chant the holy name all constantly, day and night. So there's always some dharma. So giving up dharma means that you surrender to Krishna, and surrendering to Krishna means that you transform everything into that you make everything offerable to Krishna, which of course Rupa Goswami has phrased as yukta vairagyam, or making everything compatible with Krishna consciousness. Of course, that must be yunjataha. It must be done with very good intelligence, very good discrimination. So anyway, that's another subject matter in one sense. But this verse that we're considering today has some interesting words in it. Na atapaskaya. Atapaskaya, austerity. So here Srila Prabhupada defines what is the minimal austerity for a Krishna conscious person. The minimal austerity is that you follow this process. And that is a big austerity. Once devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, what austerity should we do, Srila Prabhupada? And Prabhupada said, you chant Hare Krishna. And Prabhupada said, and then the devotee asked, what else should we do? Prabhupada said, chant more. So this is the austerity for a devotee. And this is more than enough. Because to chant properly, what does Lord Chaitanya say? He says that Trinadapi Sunichena, one should be humble. That's not easy. That's a great austerity for those who are full of false ego, which is the characteristic of the conditioned soul. Tarori Baha, to be tolerant. Most of us are very intolerant. Srila Prabhupada said, be tolerant of others and be very strict with yourself. And generally we do the opposite. We're very strict with others and very tolerant with ourselves. So respecting everyone, and that's even more difficult. Each one of them becomes a little more difficult. And then not desiring any recognition for myself, that's even more difficult. So these are the austerities for a devotee, to be able to kirtaniya sadahari, to be able to chant 24 hours a day. And this is the solution. This is how we get rid of envy. Now, let us analyze envy. There are different kinds of envy. First of all, there is the envy of hankering or coveting the objects or qualities of others. This is the general form of envy that we experience in our lives, in our ongoing practice of Krishna consciousness. And generally people, they see something that someone else has. This envy is actually the fuel that propels the consumer society. That everything is always being advertised to us. You must have this, Just like I remember I saw one ad many years ago for a little apparatus to, of course, not something we would use, but to flip an egg. There's some special little thing to flip an egg. And it said, you have to have this. People have been flipping eggs for centuries or millenniums without the apparatus. And everything that we're being told, it just struck me as something very funny. But we're being told, if you don't have this, then how will you survive? So this envy, you have to have this, you have to have that. And then that envy gets bigger and bigger. Someone has a bigger house than me. Someone has more money than me. Even among the wealthiest people on the planet, they think that there's someone that's more wealthy. Even if I have, $500 billion, then I hear that, there's somebody that has 700 billion. Then, I'm envious. If you have $500 billion, just like we're struggling to keep a temple open, or somebody is struggling to keep their family, properly maintained. Of course, in the Bhagavatam, it does say that in Kali Yuga, a man is considered successful if he can maintain his family. That's how difficult Kali Yuga is. Very, very difficult. So, this envy is so strong. Now, there's emerging the first trillionaires, people who have billions and billions of dollars. Now they're struggling. Who can be the first trillionaire? And then just like I remember in New York, the Empire State Building used to be the tallest building in the world. They were very proud. And then somebody built one, and then there was Kuala Lumpur. They built a bigger building. Then they built a bigger building somewhere else. And now in China, they built a bigger building. And now, so just on and on, this envy is just permeating and consuming the living entities, consuming everyone with so many invitations to be, to somehow or another become greater than others. So that's one type of envy. There's another type of envy, ambition, ambition. People who achieve more than we achieve, qualities, they have greater qualities. And another type of envy is wanting to be like others. We want to be like others. We see that other people, this is very popular, women want to be as beautiful as the other woman, or scholars want to be as intelligent as another scholar, or men want to be as muscular, as strong as another person. So we want to be like someone else. And this is something, this is another type of envy, And this type of envy, generally, all these envies start to make us ambitious. Now, material ambition, it transforms. Ambition generally causes us to transform ourselves. We become ambitious. When you become materially ambitious, you want to become like someone else. You want to have what other people have. So therefore, you work very hard to achieve that. But there's also spiritual ambition. Whatever, as Srila Prabhupada said so many times, and as is illustrated in the beginning of the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, with the Ashvatthama tree, which is a very unique tree because its roots are roots are extending up, and it's a very different type of tree. And the reflection in the water, of course, this idea is given that the whole material world is a reflection of the original tree. So also there is spiritual ambition. Well, what is spiritual ambition? We don't want to transform ourselves into a richer, more intelligent, more materially capable person. But spiritual ambition means I want to be Krishnera Nityadas. I want to be an eternal servant of Krishna. And of course, we want to have these qualities which we just mentioned in the Shikshastika. And of course, another verse of Shikshastika is very much meant to combat the envy in our hearts. Na dana, na jana, na sundari kabitava. That we don't want to, we're not striving for wealth. We're not striving for followers or for popularity. We're not striving for the opposite sex. We're not striving for fruitive activity. No. But the first three are very, very, very difficult to control. And dana, wealth in this material world is, of course, something we have to have some degree of wealth to survive. Of course, in the way Srila Prabhupada has explained, the Varnashram society is a social structure to help us combat envy. How is that? Because in the original Varnashram system, only about 13% of the society was working to make money, which were the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas work to make money, but because Vaishyas, they're Vaishya men, Vaishya women, in Vedic society, generally the women didn't work. They took care of their families and children. Just like during this pandemic, I saw one article, and it struck me as very funny. It said, now women are challenged. They have a great challenge. They'll have to take care of their children. It's like, what have we come to? Women will have to take care of their children. What a horrible situation. Otherwise, they'll have to do things. They'll have to clean their house. They'll have to, of course, it's understandable. The social structure nowadays is egalitarian. Of course, the real egalitarian society means we're all spirit souls, and we understand that equality on that platform. But anyway, the point is that the Vaishyas, the Vaishya men were about maybe 11 to 13% of the society. The Kshatriyas, they had money, but that money was obtained through taxation to finance the kingdom. It wasn't their money. The Brahmins also were given money, but it wasn't their money. They would immediately give it in charity. And the Shudras were not given money. They were given a place to live and food and everything they needed to be happy. So in the Varnashram system, envy was controlled in the sense that each person, each segment of society, the Brahmins are giving knowledge, the Kshatriyas are giving shelter, the Vaishyas are giving production of necessary things, and the Shudras are providing labor. And because the spiritual understanding is coming from the Brahmins and from the saintly persons, then the envy is lowered. But envy is always there in the material world. It must be there. The only way that we can totally give up envy is to become a pure devotee, which of course this verse is emphasizing to some degree. So this envy, now I'd like to speak a little bit, going back to the verse, and I just wanted to emphasize one thing here, going back to the verse, that something happened here. I can't go back to the verse on my screen for some reason. Let me just try something here. Anyway, I don't know what happened here, but
do I show the verse, Maharaj?
I can just scroll it down a little bit here, because I'm using this. It's never happened to me before, but I can't switch now. I can't switch back to the verse. Let me try something here, and I don't know what. Oh, here I can do this. No. Okay, here we go. So, so austerities. So these are what austerities we do. We chant Hare Krishna, and we follow the 4 regulative principles. This is the austerity for a devotee of Krishna. Not a great austerity. We're not. Srila Prabhupada never said that we should be like Raghunath Das Goswami, and do what he did. Stand outside the back of the Jagannath temple and pick up the remnants of the rice that even the cows and the birds don't eat. Wash up the rotten part and eat the rest. I think most of us probably would find that degree of Krishna consciousness to be a little difficult. So those who are not austere means those who are not willing to accept the transitional process of Krishna consciousness, those activities which will help us to become devotees or devoted. Now, I just wanted to analyze a little bit. Let's look at the word here in this verse, ashushrave. Now, shushrava is spoken about. It means hearing. So this is very interesting. that one who is not engaged in devotional service, shushave, meaning they don't hear. So here is a very, very key element to going beyond envy. We have to hear. And where do we want to hear from? Well, Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā explains later on in the Bhagavad-gītā, it explains to us that in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. Well, first, I just wanted to read something here from the 12th chapter, 16th verse. Generally, a materialistic person becomes very happy when there is something for his sense gratification and his body. But when he sees that others have something for their sense gratification and he hasn't, he is sorry and envious. When he is expecting some retaliation from an enemy, he is in a state of fear. And when he cannot successfully execute something, he becomes dejected. A devotee who is always transcendental to all these disturbances is very dear to Krishna, from the purport. So then, in the previous verse in Bhagavad-gītā, there's a progression, which the things that happen when we give up envy. So the first one is advesha sarvabhutanam. In the 13th verse of 12th chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna says, one who is not envious of any living entity. So giving up envy is not, well, I'm not going to covet or hanker for those things that some people have, somebody has it, but I will not be envious of anything, of any living entity. And of course, the greatest envy and the original envy is being envious of Krishna, because Krishna has everything. Just like sometimes people, especially after a disaster, even sometimes devotees, when things don't go well in our lives, which happens frequently to all of us, and especially a devotee, and I'll explain that a little later, we think, why is Krishna doing this to me? So this is also a manifestation, a subtle manifestation of envy of the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, thinking at any point in time that Krishna will do anything that would be something other than beneficial for us is a product of the lingering envy within our hearts and within our minds and within our consciousness. So, advesha sarvabhutanam. When we can give up this envy of other living entities, then Krishna says, maitra karuna evacha. Then maitra, then we can have friendship with others. Now, when we look in the Bhagavatam, one of the first quality of a madhyamadikari, and Srila Prabhupada says one should strive to come to the madhyam platform, because on the neophyte platform, there's always some kind of conflict, there's always some kind of envy, there's always disturbance, there's always the tendency of not getting along with others. So first, because one loves Krishna so much, then one loves Krishna's devotees. Because the way to love Krishna is to love Krishna's devotees. Just like Srila Prabhupada said one time, he asked a question in the class. He said, why do you love yourself? Why do you love your body? Or why do you love yourself? And devotee said, envy of Krishna, this and that. Prabhupada said, no. He said, because we originally, and we essentially love Krishna, then because we're part of Krishna, we love ourselves. It's just that we lose the vision of the origin of that love. So loving Krishna is essential. Then the next quality is that a devotee makes friendship with other devotees. So maitra. Now here, if you're not envious of any living entity, then you won't be envious of anyone. So you can have friendship with everyone. Even in the Christian Bible, it says, Christ said to if one gives up one's brothers and sisters and family members, one can have unlimited brothers and sisters and family. This is the same principle. Don't be envious of others. See everyone as a servant of Krishna, essentially. And then maitra, karuna. And when you have that friendship, when you have that, then you can have compassion on others. Otherwise, if we don't feel a friendship with others, if we don't see others as part and parcel of Krishna, then it's very difficult to be compassionate. Then nirmamo nirahankara. Then we're nirmana. We're free from possessiveness. This possessiveness is one of the root causes, especially in Kali Yuga, where everything is so external. Then the desire to have more and more and more and more is a great obstacle. And nirahankara. And when we give up this desire to have more and more, our harahankar, our false ego, diminishes. And when the false ego diminishes, then samadukkha sukham, then we can be equiposed in happiness and distress. And then kshami, we can forgive. It's very easy to be tolerant and forgive others. So this is progressive. And then, of course, it goes on, santushta, one is always feels satisfied. When one gives up, when one is tolerant, then one becomes satisfied. And then satatam yogi, one realizes one always wants to be situated in devotional service. And then there's more, but I won't go into the rest of those two verses. So, so this is a very essential thing in devotional service, that we become desirous of helping others, serving others. This serving Krishna is the real solution to becoming a non-envious person. So the nature of envy, just like in the beginning of Bhagavad-gītā, there's in the 6th chapter, the 8th verse. It's a very wonderful verse, and in that verse, the nature of the living entity, jnana vijnana triptatma kutashto vichitendriyaha. One becomes very blissful because one has jnana, one has knowledge. When we acquire this knowledge, and this is, I'm just explaining this one term, that by hearing we acquire knowledge, and by hearing carefully, we can understand how to apply that knowledge. And that makes us happy. Kutosta vichitendriyaha. This gives us the ability to control our senses. And then one develops the proper vision. And what is that vision? Sama lostrashmakangshana. That one sees pebbles, stones, and gold. This is a progression. A small rock, a big rock, and a coveted rock, a rock that is very desired, gold. All these three are the same. Generally speaking, nobody is too attracted to pebbles or stones. But when stones become valuable, diamonds, gold, rubies, we're very attracted to them. But a Krishna conscious person sees them all the same. And therefore, because the envious propensity is not there. So this by hearing this from Krishna, we start to give up our envy. Yes, I should see everything in this material world. Even Chanakya Pandit said that one should see gold and trash as the same. Otherwise, whatever should be discarded. And of course, we have the story of Sanatana Goswami, which he told about the touchstone that a Brahmin, he wanted a touchstone, and so he approached Sanatana Goswami, and he heard that he had a touchstone, and he said, "Yes, I have a touchstone." Well, could I see it? No. He was thinking, maybe I can take it, maybe I can get possession of it. And with the touchstone, just like with Vishishta Muni, Vishishta Muni had a Kamadenu, and what's his name? What's the great sage? I can't remember his name right now. Who asked Ramachandra Lakshan to go to the forest. Somebody please remind me of his name.
Vishwamitra.
Vishwamitra, yes. Vishwamitra Muni. He became envious. He became envious of Vashishta Muni. He wanted his Kamadenu. And because he couldn't get it, he said, I'll become a Brahmin. I'll get my own Kamadenu. And then I'll become greater than Vashishta Muni. So when we desire like this, when we desire something so much, this type of envious activity is very, very dangerous. And so when we see all these things, so this Brahmin was thinking, somehow or another, if I get this touchstone, I'll be greater. I'll have greater powers. I'll have greater things. But when Sanatana Goswami said, yes, you can find the touchstone in the trash, then he must have something more valuable. Let me find out what that is. And then, do you have something more valuable than that? I'm surprised that you have discarded it. Yes, I have something more valuable. Can you give it to me? Oh, yes. Oh, but only under one condition, that you give up your desire for the touchstone. Said, yes, of course. And he said, what is that more valuable thing? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh. And of course, by hearing from a pure devotee, as Srila Prabhupada says here in the verse, that it says one of the things that who has never attempted devotional service, who has never tended a pure devotee. So tending a pure devotee doesn't mean necessarily that we go and take care of them, but it means tending a pure devotee, because Srila Prabhupada said the most important aspect of serving, the most important service one can do to the spiritual master is to hear, because by hearing one will become purified, and by becoming purified, one will be able to serve Krishna and Guru and the Vaishnavas and the world and the Sankirtan movement much better. So this is a very important aspect of giving up the envious tendency. Now, when we have envy towards, like the envy of wanting to be like others, how do we get rid of that? So this was explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam, it says that famous verse, Tatenu kampam susamikshamana bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam. That when anukampa, when one accepts, anukampa means when we accept the mercy of the Lord as it comes, anukampa, mean we follow as it follows, as it comes to us, susamikshamana, and we patiently await for that mercy to come in any way that it manifests. Otherwise, sometimes the favor of the Lord will manifest, that we get the opportunity to serve Krishna, or we get something that we need in our life. And sometimes it comes in the form of a difficulty, which is meant to help us detach ourselves from something that is keeping us from advancing in devotional service. Because, and how do we accomplish this? So the Bhagavatam explains, Bhunjana eva, certainly eva atmakrita. When we understand that everything that is happening to me is coming from my past activities, is coming from my karma, is coming from my my destiny is formed by my own activities, previous activities. Then we accept the responsibility. And then we can become ourselves. It's a big issue in modern society, self-esteem. But actually, I say that practically no one has self-esteem except for the pure devotee. Why? Because what is self-esteem? It means understanding the glories of oneself. Well, what is the real glory of oneself? Krishna Nityadas. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. And that is such a greater position than whatever position we are now. Even if you're the wealthiest person in the world, you're the strongest person, or you manifest any one of the opulences of Krishna more than anyone else in this world. Being a pure devotee is so much greater. One time Srila Prabhupada said that even if we even accept theoretically that Krishna doesn't exist, still a devotee is so much more happier. He's happier than anyone else. Because why? The devotee is the happiest because even if Krishna didn't exist, the lifestyle of a devotee, the faith they have in the existence of Krishna, causes them to live carefree in this material world, where everyone else is striving to get more, to do more, to accomplish more, to acquire more, either on the gross platform or the subtle platform. But when one becomes a pure devotee, then one simply strives to hear more about Krishna, to chant Krishna's glories, to remember Krishna more, and to engage in the 9 processes of devotional service. And the envy becomes practically destroyed. Sri Prasad Maharaj, in his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, which are found in the 5th canto of the Bhagavad-gītā, in those prayers, he says, "My dear Lord, let everyone become free from envy in the whole universe. Then we can actually worship you. Otherwise, as long as envy is there, people will give up their desire to worship." Now, if we go back to the verse that we're talking about, and we go a little farther down to verse number 71, because Krishna seems to be saying in the verse that we read that you can't speak the Bhagavad Gita to anyone else. And in the 71st verse, he again says, "And one who listens with faith and without envy becomes free from sinful reactions and attains to the auspicious planets where the pious dwell." So Srila Prabhupada said, in the 67th verse, the Lord explicitly forbade the Gita's being spoken to those who are envious of the Lord. In other words, Bhagavad Gita is for devotees only. But it so happens that sometimes a devotee will hold open class, like we do every day, hopefully. Some temples they're not able to, but when we have Bhagavad Gita class every day, and not everyone is expected to be a devotee. But if they have some faith, just like Srila Prabhupada says in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita, that at least to understand this Bhagavad Gita, one has to theoretically accept that Krishna is the supreme. So even if your faith is theoretically established on the basis that Krishna is the supreme, then Srila Prabhupada says, if such persons hear from a bona fide devotee of the Lord, the result is that they become free from sinful reactions. Otherwise, they don't become pure devotees necessarily, but at least they clear the path to becoming a pure devotee. Otherwise, they become properly situated as righteous persons. And so this is a very, very important understanding that we want to give up. By giving up this envy, we understand who we really are, and who we really are is we're such glorious personalities. But when we live under the influence of envy, we become very, very incapable persons. We give up the beauty of our real personality, which is an eternal servant of Krishna. The servants of Krishna are so powerful. Just like Srila Prabhupada said one time, the Mayavadis are very foolish. Why? Because Mayavadis, they try to become one with Krishna. But if you become a devotee of Krishna, you will become greater than Krishna. Yashoda Mai, the gopis of Vrindavan, the friends of Krishna, Krishna wants to be subordinate to them. But Krishna warns us, if someone is not a pure devotee, I will not become subordinate to them because they will try to utilize me. But when actually people become pure devotees, Krishna wants to be subordinate. Krishna wants to supply them with everything, just like Sudam Brahman. Because he was free from envy, he received so much from Krishna. Krishna gave him so much. And Krishna actually considered Sudam to be greater than him. He said, Sudam has defeated me. Why? Because Sudam gave me more than he had. Otherwise, he borrowed from a neighbor. So he gave Krishna even something beyond what he had. But Krishna thought, I cannot give Sudam anything beyond what I have because everything belongs to me. And therefore, there's nothing beyond what I have. And therefore, my devotee has defeated me again. So even being a simple devotee who was Krishna's friend, but considered himself Krishna's servant, Krishna felt himself subordinate to that devotee. And that makes Krishna so happy. Krishna worshipped him. Krishna stands up and offers obeisances to Narada Muni. So not only by becoming non-envious do we become a better person, we become the greatest person because we actually take on our original devotional qualities. So how do we become free from envy? That's just a few verses before the verse we read. Krishna says, Brahmabhuta prasanatma nashochati nakamshati. That when one is situated on the spiritual platform, and the spiritual platform for a Krishna conscious devotee means chanting the holy name of the Lord, following regulative principles, and serving Krishna, then what's the result? Nashochati. We can give up all lamentation. Just like I just read that little quote from 12th chapter 16th verse purport, that one laments, one becomes dejected, one becomes envious when one is not serving Krishna properly. But nashochati, one becomes free from all that lamentation. Nakangshati, one becomes free from hankering for things in this material world. Sarva samashu bhuteshu. And one can see every living entity as equal. Mad bhaktir labate param. That is the platform from which one can attain bhakti, one can attain devotional service. Of course, Krishna is speaking there about pure devotional service. One can actually be elevated to the platform of pure devotional service by giving up these things. So I wanted to conclude by giving some examples of envious and non-envious persons or situations in the Bhagavad-gītā. What was one of the greatest envies of Krishna was by the great demon Hiranyakashipu, who wanted to kill Vishnu. Of course, there's Pondraka. He also wanted to kill Krishna and Shishupal, so many demons. But Hiranyakashipu it was his goal. And of course, Shishupal, who is the same person, it was his goal just to always be envious of Krishna, always want to be greater than Krishna, always wanted to be more than Krishna. And but on another platform, who was such an envious person? A very qualified person who had knowledge, who had like Srila Prabhupada says in our present purport of the verse we're under consideration, one may pose himself as a devotee, or one may follow all the disciplines enjoined in Vedic literature, Vedic scripture. Who was that? Daksha. He was great, but he became so envious of Shiva that he destroyed his yajna. he created such a disturbance. And on the other hand, we have non-envious devotees. Who is a non-envious devotee? Chitraketu, who even when being chastised and cursed, simply folded his hands with a smile. So much so that Parvati became bewildered. I just cursed him to be a demon, and he's smiling, and he's acting as though he's grateful. Or Ranti Dev, he was fasting for a year, fasting for so long, and then when the time came to break the fast, a Brahmin came and asked for food, a Shudra came and asked for food, a Malecha came and asked for food, and he gave it to each one of them, the quantity of food diminishing each time. Then a man came with dogs for food. And then the Malecha came and asked for water. He had nothing. Ranti Dev said, I know I will die, but I'm very happy to have served all these people. Such a non-envious mood. No personal consideration. No personal consideration. Thinking about the benefit of others. Of course, Prasad Maharaj, he addressed this. He said that great sages and saintly people, sometimes they have vows of, maunam charati vijane. They have vows, they go into the forest, but na parartha nishtaha. They don't have the consciousness of serving others. And therefore, even though these people are the people around them are very envious, but still a devotee thinks there's no other solution for them. Nanyam torasya sharanam brahmato nupashe. Prahlad Maharaj said, I don't see any way that these people can be saved from their distressful condition, their miserable condition, other than your mercy. And therefore, I dedicate myself. I don't want to be swavimukti kama. I don't want to be a saintly person thinking about my own liberation. I want to serve you and help these people. Shoche tato vimukta chetasa indriyarta. These people have turned their backs to you. Maya sukaya baramudvahato bimudhan. They're very foolish, pursuing the sense gratification of this material world. So there are so many examples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the Brahmins were envious of him. Haridas Thakur, Ramachandra Khan was so envious that he insulted Nityananda Prabhu and brought great misfortune upon his community. The queens of Chitraketu were envious of their rival queen who had a child and they didn't. Devayani was envious of Sarmishta because she was very beautiful. She was the competition. So Nadana Jana Sundari. When there's Dana, when there's Jani, and when there's Sundari, then we lose track of the reality of life. So to get rid of this envy, we have to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to serve his devotees. And through the Sankirtan movement, we serve all the living entities. Whether you go out and distribute books, whether you distribute prasadam, whether you distribute the holy name, or whether you help doing that by supporting those activities. When you become part of the Sankirtan movement, you're serving everyone. You're serving not just the deity of the Lord, but you're serving all the parts and parcels who are extensions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the recommended method to give up this envy. Otherwise, the envy, and Srila Prabhupada says, by preaching Bhagavad Gita, by giving out Bhagavad Gita, by speaking on Bhagavad Gita, the innocent person, the ignorant persons can become, the envious person is very difficult, this extremely envious atheistic person. That will be difficult. Just like Krishna says that 4 kinds of people cannot surrender to me. No. Who are they? Mudhas. Mudhas because they're just in the mode of ignorance. No. Naradamas. because they're civilized, but they don't give much attention to serving the Lord. Then worse than them, Maya Parita, the scholars who think that they speculate and they think they know. And the worst of all, asuras. The asuras negate the existence of the Supreme Lord. So those people, they will never be able to give up their envy. But by hearing Bhagavad Gita, at least the Mudhas and the Naradamas, and even the Mayaya Parhitas, they can eventually come to the platform of serving Krishna by the humility and the effort and the sacrifice of the devotees of the Lord. So therefore, we should all join Prasad Maharaj in his prayer to give up this envious propensity, which causes us to become lost in material existence, and follow Prasad Maharaj and follow all the great examples. And how do we do that? Hearing the Bhagavatam, especially Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam begins by saying, who is this Bhagavatam for? Paramo Nimatsaranam Satam. It is for Paramahansas who are free from envy. So the goal of any devotee is to become Paramahansa, is to become a pure devotee of the Lord. And because we want to become Paramahansas, then we have to give up this envious propensity. And the Bhagavatam is designed to do that. This Bhagavatam is meant to make you into a Paramahansa. Therefore, we should never become discouraged by the elevated ideals of the Bhagavatam and think that they are unattainable. They are attainable. That's why the Bhagavatam is glorified by all of our acharyas and our parampara. And the Bhagavad Gita was given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our parampara, coming down to Srila Prabhupada and the servants of Srila Prabhupada and their servants, to free us from the envious propensity, so that we can enter into the service of the Bhagavatam, and to the hearing and chanting the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita and all these wonderful, wonderful literatures, which Srila Prabhupada painstakingly translated and gave to us in such a wonderful format that is understandable by everyone. Of course, when in the beginning, they may be a little difficult to understand, because Arjuna understood Bhagavad Gita in 45 minutes. We may understand it in 45 years, or maybe 45 lifetimes, depending on how anxious we are to become pure devotees. And therefore, Krishna sometimes gives us difficulties so that we can become pure devotees. So we should never become envious of Krishna because he gives us some difficulties, but we should be very grateful. When we're always grateful to Krishna for whatever he does, whatever he provides for us, then we can give up the envious nature, our envious nature, and go back home, back to Godhead. So these are some thoughts I had on this particular topic in this verse. And I didn't ask you ahead of time what the time limit was, so I don't know if we have time for some questions.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class, and humble obeisances to Jayadvaita Maharaj. And so we have another 10 minutes, and we also have one question in the chat box.
I see that.
So after answering that, we can take maybe one or two more questions till 8:15 New York time.
Okay. Next time I'll ask ahead of time. Sorry about that.
Sorry, Maharaj. Should I read the question?
What does it mean to serve Krishna properly? What activities are considered like Mahavakyas? Hare Krishna. Of course, Mahavakya means great, great word. So what are the great word? The great Mahavakya means Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. That is Mahavakya. And of course, all our Shastras, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, all of Srila Prabhupada's books, they're all Mahavakya. They're all great pronunciations of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So what does it mean to serve Krishna properly? It means to follow 5 things. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad-gītā. You follow the instructions of the Lord in Bhagavad-gītā, Uddhava-gītā, and all of the different pronunciations of the Lord's desires for his devotees. And you follow Guru, we follow the spiritual master. We take advantage of the association of Vaishnavas, serving them, hearing from them, and associating with them. And Bhagavata, we hear the Bhagavatam, and Gita, we hear the Bhagavad-gītā. If we have these 5 sources of inspiration and guidance and enrichment, spiritual enrichment in our lives, then we'll serve Krishna properly. So again, what this particular verse says, that ashushu shave, otherwise we should not be ashushu, we should be shushusha. We should be always hearing. Always hearing is advised in Bhagavad-gītā, tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena. How do we always hear? By always inquiring. Always inquiring means that either we're asking some question or inquiring physically, or we're inquiring mentally. We're trying to understand how to become more surrendered by all the indications that are given by Krishna. And here's another question. Which demon represents envy? Well, of course, all demons represent envy, but specifically, the Keshi demon was considered to be a very, very envious, very envious of the Supreme Lord. So, but all demons, you look at any demon and you've got a perfect description of envy. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur indicates, and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that they do mention a couple of different demons, but specifically Keshi demon was envious, and also Kaliya envious, wanting to get rid of Krishna, wanting to get rid of Garuda, very envious. So this envious mentality is defeated when we allow Krishna to step on our heads. Otherwise, we allow Krishna to correct us. We allow Krishna to, actually there's a beautiful verse, 5:19:27. Satyam dishyatito artitam yataha. That Krishna wants to give everyone whatever they want. And we hear that, we say, great. Oh, that sounds like a good proposal. That's what most other religions strive for. Let God give me everything I want. But then he says, naivartato artitam hataham yataha. But if Krishna perceives that by giving you that, you will become more entangled in material existence, he does something else. He puts his lotus feet on your head, even if you don't desire it. And that way you will become purified. So this is the fortunate condition of the devotee. Of course, if we're hankering for material things, we see that as unfortunate. Krishna didn't give me what I wanted. But for a devotee, they become very grateful. Krishna didn't give me what I wanted, but Krishna is giving me what I need. And therefore, I have to do that. I have to, of course, I got a little note here, a little comment, that all feelings of superiority rise from inherent envy. That's a nice comment, nice way to see envy. When we feel superior, or when we feel greater, or we want to be superior, or we want to be greater, then this is the one of the roots of becoming more and more envious. And the converse, when we want to be servant of everyone, dasa dasa anudasa, then our envy is taken out of the heart. And here's another question. Can someone have positive envy, such as being envious of envious people, such as being envious of unenvious people? There is positive envy, and this will take me a couple minutes to explain. Positive envy comes from spiritual competition. So Narottam Das Thakur, he said of the 6 items, kama, krodha, lobha, that when we have moha, matsarya, mada, these are the 6 elements of being bewildered in the material world: lust, anger, greed, illusion, envy, and madness. And they're progressive. From lust, if we don't satisfy our lust, we become angry. If we don't satisfy our anger, or we get something from our lust, then we become greedy for more, and that makes us it bewilders us, illusion, and from that illusion we become mad. We try to enjoy this material world in so many insane and unbeneficial ways, and then matsarya, all of that makes us envious. So how do we become what is positive envy? So Narottam Das Thakur said the first 5, they can be counteracted. Lust, a desire for something, you just figure out how to use it in Krishna's service. Anger, you become angry at those who are against Krishna. No, like Hanuman, Arjuna. No, those who try to blaspheme Krishna, we become angry. And as far as lobha, we're very desirous of having more Krishna consciousness, of having greater degrees of understanding Krishna. And mada, we become intoxicated from chanting the holy name and from blissful devotional service. But Narottam Das Thakur says envy, very difficult. But in the spiritual world, there is envy, and that envy, Srila Prabhupada even encouraged it. But sometimes, if we're not pure enough, it becomes negative, which is competition. Srila Prabhupada encouraged competition. But what is the nature of that competition? Someone is serving Krishna better than me. Let me serve Krishna better than them so that Krishna will be more pleased. When that is the root mentality, that competition is positive. Otherwise, it's a type of envy because, well, that person is doing better than me. Let me do more. But let me do more to please Krishna, not for myself. So anyway, let me see if I can very quickly answer this last question. Can we say that when we notice envy in our minds, that it is the intelligence telling us that we are seeing something that is better than what we have? Can we use that mood to quieten the envy? Yes. Intelligence, and when intelligence is properly cultivated, and the proper intelligence, we see someone that has something better than us, and we want to acquire that for serving Krishna better. If that's really our desire, then that can be a positive way to get rid of envy. So now we're at our time limit. So thank you all very much for your attention, and I hope that I've been able to contribute something. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Thank you, Maharaj, so much for this wonderful lecture. I offer my humble obeisances to you. Next week, we have His Holiness Kadambakanan Maharaj joining us for the Sunday Feast lecture. Thank you. Meet you next week at the same time, probably. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.